You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. What if getting lost in life is exactly what you need to find yourself? Discover more in today's episode. This episode contains adult subject matter and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we explore what it really means to cultivate resilience, especially in times of uncertainty and change. Our guest shares her journey of reinvention from a career in Hollywood to a period of deep personal struggle that ultimately led her to a new path of self-discovery and purpose. Giovanna Silvestre, a visionary and trailblazer, embarked on a remarkable journey that took her from the prestigious halls of the University of Southern California to the world of entertainment. Beginning her career in Hollywood, Giovanna's unwavering passion for creativity and innovation quickly distinguished her in the industry. Her sharp eye for talent and commitment to her craft led to a sought-after role alongside a renowned film director at a major studio. However, after leaving the entertainment industry, Giovanna fell into a dark depression, a pivotal moment that forced her to confront her identity and purpose. This introspective time ignited her quest to discover who she truly was and why she was here on Earth, ultimately leading her to create her brand and write her book. With an entrepreneurial spirit, Giovanna founded Confused Girl in the City, a unique activewear brand inspired by healing crystals. Driven by her determination and an innate sense of design, her innovative creations have garnered acclaim in prominent publications such as NBC and Forbes, while amassing a dedicated following of 400,000 on Instagram. In May 2025, Giovanna's highly anticipated book, Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos, will be released by Blackstone Publishing Company. Written during her 2 years of solo travel around the world, her book masterfully blends memoir and guidance, empowering readers to embrace confusion as a virtue that can lead to a fulfilling life. Recognized for her influential voice and authenticity on major social media platforms, Giovanna exudes a magnetic aura that resonates with audiences everywhere. Her journey is a testament to the power of passion, creativity, and the transformative nature of embracing life's uncertainties. Here is my interview with Giovanna Silvestre. Hi, Giovanna. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because cultivating resilience is such an interesting topic for our conversation today. And I think something that we definitely all can use a little more of in our lives, especially considering the tumultuous times in the world nowadays. So thank you for joining me today and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, me too. I feel like we're going to have an amazing conversation. And do you want to start us off maybe with a little bit about yourself and maybe tie that in to how your journey brought you here today and what it is that you do today so our listeners can get to know you a little bit?
Yeah, so I started my career in the film industry in Hollywood. And after working in that for quite a few years and actually moving up fairly quickly, I just was overwhelmed by all the narcissism. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's killing my soul. I left the entertainment industry and then I thought I would take over my parents' restaurant. My father is from Italy and my parents had an Italian restaurant in California, a very successful one. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm supposed to do this and continue the family legacy. So I did that for a couple of years and I was very unhappy. I went back to Los Angeles and I was totally lost. I didn't know who I was. I fell into a depression. I didn't know what I wanted to do in the world. I didn't know what my purpose was. And what I had realized at that time, which I think a lot of people can relate to this, is that I had been really living my life in a way that was like to look good to other people or to please my family, to feel like I was acceptable in society. Those were my main motives. My main motives were not, oh, what makes me happy? Who am I? How do I be true to myself? So I realized that and I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to get myself out of this depression. And my main goal is that I want to be happy just because I exist. I don't want to be happy because I have a new boyfriend or I have a new career or because I have more money or because I have a new car or whatever it is. I want to be happy just for the sake of being happy. And when I mean happy, I mean at peace. For me, happiness equals a level of peace and contentment in your being. And that was my main goal at this time. And I'm like, if I can get that, then I'll work on, okay, why am I here? What do I want to do with my life? What do I like? What I don't like, who I am. But I have to get to that point where I'm happy with just existing. Because even if you look at children when they're little babies, they're just happy. They're just kind of happy to be here. They're curious. They're looking at things. They're not going like, oh, am I being judged? Am I acceptable? Am I doing a good job? Who am I? They're just happy to be here. They're happy to be playing with their little toy. So I kind of wanted to get that again. And then I was like, okay, I can build upon that. After I was able to get a level of peace and contentment in my being, which I discuss how I got there in my book, lots of tools and advice on that. Then it was like, okay, well, I still don't know who I am. So I actually started a video blog called Confused Girl in the City. And every week I did one new thing in an attempt to figure out what I liked, what I didn't like. And then I thought, well, if I do enough things that don't lead to somewhere, maybe it'll lead somewhere. And it's so true because once you kind of look at yourself like an experiment and going, okay, let me figure out what I like and what I don't like. And by understanding the things that kind of excite you and that you like, then that leads you closer to why am I here and what should I do? So I started this video blog called Confused Girl in the City. That led to me starting a yoga wear line. I started that over a decade ago when very few companies were making yoga gear. It was just kind of Lululemon and some very niche brands. And I used Instagram to really promote it because Instagram at that time was pretty new and pretty open. So I was able to really get the word out and I was selling my yoga clothes all over the world, which was incredible. And then I got my inspiration to write a book because I'm like, I need to share this with other confused girls. And I want to write a book that I needed when I was really depressed and lost. And I really feel like that's my contribution to the world and why I was put here is to share this. So yeah, I wrote my book and something quite incredible happened with with the book. I decided I wanted to do the book differently than I've done everything else in my life. I didn't want to be a bulldozer pushing through. I wanted it to be complete inspiration. And if one day I wanted to write, I'd write. If I didn't want to write, I wouldn't push it. I was like, I had no agent, I had no publishing company behind me. This was just me wanting to express myself on a glowing screen. So I decided that I wanted to do this abroad and I moved to Bali for a year where I wrote my book because Bali is such a peaceful place, it's so spiritual, so peaceful. And also, I think the humidity there too, it just kind of relaxes your body and your muscles. You can't be high strung and have anxiety because it's too humid. It just melts you. And I was doing yoga, like an hour and a half of yoga every morning. Then I'd go sit at a cafe with my coconut and smoothie bowl. And I'd be like, okay, are we going to write? Or are we not going to write? What's going on today? And it was one of the best experiences of my life to do this. And I was very isolated. I wasn't too social. I was really focused on just connecting with myself, connecting with whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, the power that be. And yeah, and just writing this book. So I finished it and COVID hit. I went back to California and I was able to get a really reputable agent, which was amazing. I was so excited. And then for 2 years, my book was rejected by publishers. But the cool thing was, and this is where I have to be, this is where I think I am the most proud of myself because I feel like I'm actually walking my talk. I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the talk. I didn't let it affect my self worth. Now, old Giovanna being rejected by publishers for 2 years would have destroyed me. And I would have freaked out. I would have felt horrible about myself. I would have tried to control it. I would have put pressure on it. I probably would have taken it back from my agent. I would have been really upset. I would have destroyed the beautiful flow that I had put into the whole process. I would have squeezed it out. And this time I was like, okay, I'm being rejected. And I did think, okay, I'm not perfect. Like self-doubt did creep in. And it was more like, okay, well, if this doesn't get published, then okay, should I self-publish? And what does the universe want me to do? Okay. And I was like, but I don't feel now is the time to take it away from my agent yet. I was like, let me give it after the new year and I'll talk to her, take my project back and see what I want to do with it. And at this time, my father was really sick. He was dying of cancer. It was just not the time. And I was very much at peace with that. And I was more focused on my dad anyway. When somebody that you love like that gets sick, it really puts everything in perspective as well. What's important and what isn't. It was so crazy because the new year came and then it was like on the 2nd or even maybe New Year's Day or the 2nd of January, I got an email from my agent that said, what a great way to start the new year. A publishing company is really interested in your book. Let's set up a Zoom call. And I'm like, oh my God. I set up the Zoom call and they were interested. Then another publishing company was interested. And then a bidding war started on my book. And it was so cool because I was home a lot with my parents and my dad was listening to all my Zoom calls and he was seeing this bidding war. And I think my dad being an old school Italian, when he saw I was in Bali, he's like, what is my daughter doing? She's become this hippie girl. Like, and I'm like, no, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. But I think my parents are the type, they don't really believe something until it's actually visibly in front of their face. So I was like, no, I'm doing stuff. I'm doing stuff. And he was so proud and so happy. He was so sick. So it's like this gave him joy. And I guess he told the nurse because he knew he was dying. And he told the nurse, he goes, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. And I was like, oh my God, you could not have timed this better. I literally got on my knees and I was crying and I was praying. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just felt like so much gratitude for it's just such divine timing. And I signed the contract with the publishing company and my book is actually dedicated to my father. And I even got my first advanced copies on his birthday. The whole thing with this has been just so inspired and so many other things I could talk about with it. But it's funny, people are like, oh, you must be so proud. I'm like, no, I'm not. I am grateful. That feeling of proud isn't there. It's more of just a feeling of gratitude and just joy and just feeling so blessed about the way that it all happened and unfolded. And I know my dad is really with me on this whole journey. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you ended up finding a path that fulfilled you and made you happy and brought you that joy that you were looking for. There is a lot of people in this world that spend maybe all their lives looking for that, and they sometimes don't even find it in this lifetime. So, yeah, wonderful. And you took this experience that you had and put that in your book. Am I understanding that correctly? So, your book is a bit of telling other people how they can find their joy and that inner joy. So tell us a little bit about that, because there's probably some listeners wondering right now saying, well, I'm stuck in this dead end job, or I have multiple jobs, or I'm not loving my life. So how can I get started on finding what actually lights me up? So how does your book help with that?
I would say the first thing I would say is your intentions are really, really important. There's that saying, be careful what you wish for. I think that when you're feeling really stuck and lost, your intention should be very, very simple. It should be something like how I said, I just want to feel good in my skin, because in reality, that's what we really want. Because a lot of people go, oh, well, I want the man and I want the kids, or I want the money. Those are all valid things to want. Those are great things to want. But what happens is if you just say, I want that, and you don't know who you are, be careful what you wish for, because you might get in that situation and then discover a few years in, oh my gosh, this isn't really aligned with who I am. And now I'm stuck in a situation that I don't want, especially with like marriage and children or something like that, or even a career. You do something for so long and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making good money now and I'm unhappy. This is miserable. So you have to, first and foremost, I think the intention should be, I just want to feel good in my skin and I want to discover who I am. Once you're on that journey, then you'll see what resonates with you and what doesn't, what is good for your soul path and what isn't. And then you can just let it unfold from there and keep following the breadcrumbs that the universe leaves for you. So I think a lot of times we want things that we're told we should want versus what is truly in you to want. And I think you have to really go inward and make peace with yourself first. Because if you have that, nothing can take that away from you. Nothing. My father's death would have destroyed me had I not done my inner work and stuff. I handled it very well and I was very much at peace with it. But that's because of all of the inner work that I did. My book being rejected for 2 years would have destroyed me. Lots of things that happened with my yoga wear line would have destroyed me. So many things would have destroyed me where I wouldn't have been able to keep going. But because I have this peace inside of myself and I now can enjoy life without external things. I don't need something amazing happening in my life. I don't need a crazy new opportunity. I don't need a new car. I don't need a whatever. I love traveling. I don't even need like a new trip to make me happy. I'm happy. I'm like, I'm going to go on a walk today and I'm just going to look at the trees and look at the flowers. Especially recently, I've been spending a lot of time alone. I think this is also another tip is to give yourself some time alone. Because if you're constantly around people all the time, you're distracted and you're scattered. Your energy is pulled in all these different directions. Even if you can give yourself like a 20-minute walk and just observe some nature, that's huge. It's huge to lower anxiety. It's huge to give yourself a mental break. Because I've been spending a lot of time alone recently, it's so funny. I'll just go out and I'll be like, ooh, the color of these flowers is just amazing. Wow. I've noticed I'm doing that a lot because I'm actually spending a lot of time alone right now, where when I'm distracted and all over the place, I'll miss things like that. And if you can get yourself to really appreciate these simple things, then you're always going to have like joy in your being.
Yeah. It's something that comes from the inside, as you said, right? We need to turn the perspective a little bit from these outside things into our own inner self. And that can be difficult to do that. You having experienced depression yourself, you understand how difficult that can be to try and find that inner peace. So when you are in times that you're not feeling aligned, or you are feeling like you're not good enough, or you just don't know who you are, what are some of the first things that you started off with? So you said, give yourself some time alone. And Those might be difficult things to do for people in the beginning when they're very misaligned in their lives. What was one of the smallest things that you started off with to try and align your life and find that inner joy and build that resilience?
A lot of people say this, and I'm not just trying to regurgitate this because other people say this, but it does really work. And it worked for me. It's writing down like 5 things you're grateful for every day. It is huge. And it's such a simple, easy thing to do. And I remember I wasn't grateful at that time, but I wanted to feel grateful because I'm watching all these YouTube videos about gratitude. And now it's so crazy because I've built that gratitude within myself, I now find gratitude everywhere. What it really is reprogramming your brain. Most of our brains are on a default negative setting. And even within my family, like my father was a great man, but he did have a very default negative setting. And I think that's also like a post World War II kid. And it makes sense. Their life was really hard. And sometimes they didn't even have their basic needs met, like food. So I had this really default negative setting where I just walk through the world and I would just pick things apart and I'd be like, oh, look at that person. Oh, look at this. But I kind of hid it because I have a sunny personality. But inside was that programming, but it wasn't mine. It's what I picked up from my household, what I picked up from what I grew up in. I was like, okay, I have to reprogram this. And to reprogram your brain takes action. You actually have to put in some effort. And number one, you have to first realize that you're on a default negative setting. Okay, that's number one, is realizing it and going, okay, this is not helping me. I want to shift into something that feels better and that is more useful in my life. I talk about this in my book, like when you notice yourself having a negative critical thought, instead of whooshing it away or whatever, my brain at that time was so negative. It was like a record player of all of my shortcomings. It wasn't just negative about other people. It was negative about myself. And I didn't feel good about myself. And I didn't feel like I had any self-worth. What I would do is when I had a critical thought about myself, which was constantly, I would just sit down and I would think about that thought that I was having. And then I imagined a trash can that was on fire. And I would just put that thought in the trash can and burn it in my mind. I would visualize it burning. You can't just do this once and it's going to work. You need to be vigilant. You need to be aware. You need to have a real desire to shift your inner world. And if you have that desire to shift your inner world, I swear to you, you will be able to do it. The angels will come in and the universe will help you. It starts first with the desire. So I would say that visualization really helped me. And then also within my day, I would try to look for something I was grateful for. Even if I didn't feel grateful, what could be perceived as nice? Like, oh, that man held the door open for me and smiled at me today. I am great. And then I would write that down at the end of the day. Even if it was like, oh, well, today it rained. I like listening to the rain while I'm doing whatever. It could be anything. I'm grateful I'm alive today. I'm grateful I'm healthy. And actually, there's something so powerful about putting the pen to the paper and making yourself do something, because it's like making yourself go to the gym. You make yourself go to the gym enough times, you're going to see results. You're going to feel better. Your muscles are going to get stronger. You're going to lose some weight. You're going to see results. It's the same thing with doing this stuff. And you're going to see your mind start to shift. And at some point, I don't even keep a gratitude journal anymore, because now I wake up and I'm like, oh, I just feel it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love my cappuccinos in the morning. They make me so happy. Now it's just like in me to be grateful for things. I don't have to do that anymore. But initially, you need to do that. And I think walks. If you could do those 3 simple things, the visualization of the trash can burning with negative thoughts, a gratitude journal, and taking 10 to 20-minute walk where you listen to music, you kind of observe some nature, and you keep doing that every day, you're going to shift into a more positive, peaceful mindset.
Yeah. Considering the tens of thousands of negative thoughts we have every day, I think throwing them in the burning trash can is a really great idea. We can work on shifting our brain into a different kind of thought pattern when we have those negative thoughts. I think the inner critic can be quite strong for a lot of people and actually will block the progress that we want to make to find our alignment. So, working on those first steps first is a really good idea. And with the visualization, right, our brain can't really tell if it's real or imagined. So if you throw that into that burning dumpster, your brain's going to take that as fact. So clearing out those thoughts, yeah, that'll be wonderful. And walks, of course, they are part of movement, part of taking in nature, part of that healing energy. So yeah, those are all wonderful first steps for someone wanting to shift their alignment. And we have to say that all of these things can be done even if you live in a city or you don't have a lot of time, or maybe you don't have a lot of space. Still, all of these things we can fit into our busy lives. We can take some moments in the morning or some moments before we go to bed. And even if you don't have a lot of nature where you live, maybe you can find a park or even just somewhere to spend a few minutes. So I think that all of the things that Giovanna is suggesting we can fit in, and even if we are busy or we don't have a lot of space. All those things are doable. I mean, you live in LA, so talk about not having a lot of space. You can fit that all in. So, yeah, I think very doable for really anyone, even if they are short on time or space. Yeah, that sounds great. Now, I'm curious about your book because you didn't actually tell us the title yet. So, tell us what your book is called so that our listeners can look out for the book.
Well, it's called Confused Girl.
Perfect. That goes along with it.
I stayed on brand. It's Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos.
Perfect. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the book because at this point it's not available for sale yet. So tell us how our listeners can find your book.
You can actually pre-order it. You can pre-order it on Amazon. Just type in Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos, and it'll pop up. Or you can go to my website, confusedgirlinthecity.com, and you'll see the links for it there where you can purchase it.
Amazing. And when is it actually coming out?
May 13th.
Perfect. So we will keep you posted on that. And we're going to add the pre-order link to the show notes so that our listeners can find your book. And tell us, do you offer any other programs or services for people who want to work with you, people who want to learn about how to find their alignment, what lights them up? Do you work with people as well?
I used to. I don't anymore, but I have been thinking about maybe doing a retreat or doing something. But right now, I'm just kind of concentrated on the book and all the things that I need to do with that for marketing and working with my publishing team. That will all come later on. But please go to my website, confusedgirlinthecity.com, and put in your email and you'll be updated on any new things that I do. You can also follow me on Instagram at Confused Girl LA to keep up to date on all the things I'm doing and stuff, because I definitely think I will be doing that in the future. Again, when it comes to I'm walking the walk, I really do now. I don't overload myself with a ton of things. I'm not like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. I used to be like that and it didn't bring me happiness. So now I'm like, it's been 7 years to get this book off the ground and get it published, and I'm going to enjoy it and then let whatever is going to come next just unfold for me and let it be something that's really inspired and not just trying to make more money or feel like I need to be doing a billion things.
I feel like that's actually a really good aha moment for our listeners. As you're saying that you're walking the talk and the fact that you don't overload yourself, I feel like for someone to look successful, there's almost this expectation that they need to be busy 24/7 producing God knows what, and that makes them successful. So to take that step back and actually say, you know what, it just makes me worn out and tired, and it might even affect my health. what does that look like for me? Success? Does it have to look like I'm working 24/7? So that's a really, really good point. Also, for listeners to maybe give some thought on what their day looks like, what their week looks like. And is that even fulfilling them? Is that making them feel good? Is it recharging their batteries? Or is that just draining away more out of their energy because it's simply not aligned and just an expectation from others to be looking that way?
Absolutely. I live my life as less is more. And I used to live my life as more is more. But now I look at it like less is more. And when I do things, I'm 100% in the thing I'm doing. And then I just go from this thing, then I'll do this thing. I try to move really slowly. And it was like at first, trying to get myself there was an internal battle. Because, like you said, there's this expectation that more is more, do more. And I was like, no, less is more, less is more, less is more. And it was this really internal fight within me. But I fought it. And I was like, no, 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 no. I do not want to live my life with this constant pressure on my shoulders. And I think what really solidified it for me was my father's passing, because my father was a more is more person. And he was immigrant to this country, didn't come from any money, like no money, came here, worked really hard, owned businesses. And he was just like constantly every day, you have to wake up early, you got to do a billion things. So he kind of drove his body into the ground and ignored his body. And he died fairly young. And I mean, he was healthy. He ate healthy. He wasn't a smoker. He wasn't a drinker. And he died of cancer. So I think the reason why is because of the stress. So that kind of solidified it for me that I want to learn from that and do things differently. I just look at success as like feeling good, being healthy, doing the things that are in my soul to do and contribute to the world in the way I'm supposed to contribute. And that's my happiness.
Yeah, it's a big part of cultivating that resilience, I think, is a bit of that courage of saying no to some of the things and still feeling that peace. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I can definitely relate. My family is immigrants as well. My parents own their own business. So, yeah, those are all really familiar things. So, I know exactly what you're saying. And I think it's part of why I had to change also how I operate as well, because that sort of was part of growing up and you thought that that was the way to do it. So, yeah, I hear you on that. But to our listeners out there, listen to your body, listen to how that feels for you, and make those choices based on what is aligned with you and not around your family or other expectations that you might be running up against. And your body will thank you in the long run. I learned that lesson the hard way. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And listeners, we will be linking to Giovanna's book, the pre-order form, in the show notes. And once it goes live, we're going to link you to where you can purchase it as well. Be sure to check there and connect with Giovanna through her mailing list to stay up to date with what she's up to and to see if you can connect with her later. Maybe she's going to be doing a retreat. That sounds like a really exciting idea. We will link to all of that and make sure our listeners know where to find you. And I just want to actually express gratitude myself now. And thank you for being here. I learned so much in the past half hour and I've really enjoyed our conversation. And thank you for bringing that wisdom to this episode today and sharing that with our listeners. And it can be a really hard path, but I think the outcome is so worth it when you find that alignment and you find that peace that changes your life. So thank you for sharing that today. I am very grateful that you're here with us.
Well, thank you so much. And I love what you're doing. And you just never know, sometimes it's one thing that you could share that could change somebody's life. Thank you for what you're doing for others. It's powerful.
No, thank you. We will keep shining our lights and moving forward in this world with alignment and peace and sharing that with others. I think the world needs more of that. So keep doing what you're doing. And definitely, I look forward to seeing what other things you come up with, how that goes with your book. And I wish you all the very best. Thanks for joining me today and take care, Giovanna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.